We spend most of our lives asleep with our eyes open. From the moment we are born, we are handed stories about who we are, what life is, and how the world works. These stories are passed down not just through words, but through glances, silences, and the energies that filled the rooms we grew up in. Without realizing it, we internalize the idea that we are separate from each other, from nature, from something greater, and perhaps most painfully, separate from ourselves. But what if none of that is true? What if separation is not a truth, but a distortion? A veil that keeps us from seeing what has always been right here. The idea that we are fragments floating in an indifferent universe is not just outdated, it is the root of our disconnection, anxiety, and the quiet aches so many of us carry. You see, alignment does not begin with doing more. It begins with unlearning. Unlearning the belief that you are alone. Unlearning the inherited programming that told you to strive harder, to prove your worth, to fear failure like it was the end of your identity. We have mistaken control for power and performance for purpose. And in that mistake, we've wandered further and further from our center. There comes a moment in each person's life, often quiet, often disguised as heartbreak or fatigue, when the illusion begins to crack. Perhaps it's when the job you thought would make you feel whole doesn't, or when you finally reach that relationship, only to find that the emptiness followed you. In those moments, something ancient stirs. A whisper within says, "This isn't it." And if we're brave enough to listen, everything begins to shift. This awakening is not an end, but a return. A return to source, not as some distant deity, but as the living intelligence breathing through you, guiding you, waiting for you to remember. It's the space behind your thoughts, the stillness in your chest when you stop trying to figure it all out. It's the home you've been searching for in every achievement, every compliment, every desperate chase for certainty. The truth is, you have never been separate. You have only been distracted. Distracted by noise, by opinions, by the endless scroll of comparison and consumption. But the moment you slow down enough to hear your own soul, truly hear it, you realize it's been calling you all along. And so the journey to alignment is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you who to be. It's peeling back the layers, not to reveal a broken core, but a radiant one. One that knows, deep down, that you are connected to something vast, beautiful, and eternally wise. When you begin to live from that place, when your actions arise from a sense of inner knowing rather than outer validation, something profound happens. Life stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a dance. You're no longer hustling for scraps of approval. You're channeling your essence into form. You speak not to be liked, but to be true. You love not to fill a hole, but to express overflow. It doesn't mean life becomes easy, but it becomes real. And in that reality, there's peace. So let me ask you this. Where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? What would happen if you stopped striving and started aligning? Not with what the world says you should want, but with what your inner wisdom already knows. There is nothing outside of you that can give you what you're looking for if you still believe you are unworthy to receive it. And that belief? It's not yours. It was planted there by others who forgot their own wholeness. You don't have to carry it anymore. Your alignment begins the moment you choose to return to yourself, to sit in silence, to question what you've been taught, to feel, even when it's uncomfortable, to trust that the universe is not some cruel puzzle, but a mirror, reflecting your deepest truths and inviting you to reclaim them. This is your invitation, not to escape, but to remember, not to transcend, but to embody. You are not separate, you never have been. And the moment you begin living from that truth, everything starts to change. If you were to strip away everything you see around you, the buildings, the bodies, the labels, what would remain is energy. Not metaphorically, but fundamentally. At the quantum level, all matter dissolves into vibration, patterns of possibility suspended in a sea of potential. Scientists call this the quantum field. Mystics have called it the source, the divine, the infinite. But what's most striking is not what we call it. It's that it responds to us. Think about that for a moment. The very fabric of existence is listening. It doesn't speak in words, of course. It speaks in frequency, in resonance, in coherence. And whether you're aware of it or not, you're always transmitting your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your stories. All of it is energy, and all of it becomes a signal. So the question isn't whether you're manifesting. You are. The real question is, what are you manifesting, and from which state of being? Because the quantum field doesn't respond to your wishes, it responds to your frequency. You may want abundance, but if your core energy is lack, you'll continue to draw experiences that mirror scarcity. You may crave love, but if your subconscious believes you are unlovable, you'll attract relationships that reinforce that lie. This is not punishment. It's precision. The universe is not judging you. It's reflecting you. Like a cosmic algorithm tuned to your innermost vibration, it matches your dominant emotional state and subconscious blueprint with outer experiences. Not to punish you, but to awaken you. When people first hear this, they often feel overwhelmed. You mean I'm responsible for all this? But responsibility is not blame, it's power. To recognize that you are the signal tower of your reality is to reclaim the authority to shift it. And the shift begins not by fixing the external, but by attuning the internal. This is where quantum philosophy meets spiritual maturity. You begin to understand that life is not happening to you, but through you. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a creator of alignment. Your attention becomes your wand, your emotions become your compass, and your stillness becomes your superpower. Take a moment to reflect. What frequency have you been broadcasting lately? Is it rooted in fear or trust, in expansion or contraction? Because while thoughts are powerful, emotions are magnetic. It is the emotional signature of your thoughts that sends the clearest message to the field. Let's say you want to manifest a new opportunity. You could spend hours visualizing it, making vision boards and chanting affirmations. But if deep down you still feel unworthy, you'll sabotage or repel that very opportunity. Why? Because your core emotional vibration is not aligned with the version of you who receives it. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you must be honest. Honest about what you really believe. Honest about what emotions you've buried. Honest about where you're still trying to control instead of surrender. And most of all, honest about the gap between your conscious desires and your unconscious patterns. When you bring those patterns into awareness, not with shame but with compassion, they begin to soften. And as they soften, your frequency begins to rise. Not because you forced it, but because you faced it. The field responds not just to your joy, but to your truth. Even your grief, when held consciously, is a higher frequency than denial. One of the most misunderstood aspects of manifestation is the belief that high vibes mean constant happiness. But true alignment is not the suppression of shadow. It is the integration of it. Your wholeness is magnetic. Your coherence, the congruence between who you are, what you feel, and how you act, is what opens the quantum gates. This is why some people seem to magnetize things effortlessly. It's not because they're lucky. It's because their internal world is in harmony. They don't chase, they attract. They don't force, they flow. Their energy is clear, and so their signal is strong. So I invite you to consider, what parts of you are sending mixed signals? Where are you saying yes with your mouth, but no with your energy? Where are you trying to manifest from fear rather than from vision? These questions aren't meant to judge, they're meant to liberate. You are a living node in a quantum web of creation. Every emotion, every thought, every intention sends ripples across that web. And when you align your internal frequency with the reality you wish to live in, the field rearranges itself to meet you there. This isn't magic, it's mechanics. But it feels like magic because we've been taught to expect the worst, not to anticipate miracles. We've been trained to fix, fight, and force, never to align, allow, and attune. But you can begin now. You can close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask, what frequency am I in right now? Does it match the life I desire? If the answer is no, don't panic. Just notice, because that noticing is the beginning of a new signal, and every new signal is a doorway. We've been taught that effort is everything, that success is earned through struggle and transformation through endurance. And while there's beauty in persistence, many of us are trapped in a cycle of efforting, not from clarity, but from fear. We think if we just try harder, push more, work longer, we'll finally earn the life we long for. But here's the deeper truth. Energy trumps effort. Alignment is more powerful than hustle. Pause and think, how many times have you poured energy into something, only to watch it fall apart? Not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you weren't in harmony with it. You were moving from should, not soul. You were forcing what needed flow. And the universe, kindly, wisely redirected you. When your energy is scattered, your results are fragmented. When your motives are tangled in fear, your path is clouded. But when your energy is clear, when your actions arise from inspired alignment rather than anxious striving, life moves differently. Doors open with ease, synchronicities appear. You meet the right person at the right time, say the right thing without planning it, make progress that feels like grace, not grind. This isn't a call to passivity, it's a call to precision. Alignment doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you do the right thing from the right state. It's the difference between rowing upstream and letting the current carry you because you finally pointed your boat in the right direction. Action from alignment is magnetic. It doesn't deplete, it regenerates. It doesn't fight the current, it collaborates with it. Consider the moments in your life when things just clicked. Maybe you had a conversation that changed everything. Maybe you stumbled into a new opportunity that felt destined. Were you grinding in those moments? Or were you open, available, resonating with something greater than logic could explain? That's the power of tuned energy. That's the quantum difference. Now imagine what would happen if you began each day asking, where is my energy leading me today? Not, what do I have to do, but what feels congruent with who I truly am becoming? This one question changes everything, because it takes you out of survival and puts you into alignment with Source. Real transformation is not in what you do, it's in how you be. The being behind the doing shapes the outcome. If you write from fear, it reads differently than when you write from truth. If you speak from need, it lands differently than when you speak from generosity. Energy doesn't lie, it echoes. It reverberates through your actions, coloring them with either resistance or resonance. This is why two people can take the same action and create completely different outcomes. One is aligned, the other is just checking a box. One is embodying belief, the other is performing obligation. One is in coherence, the other in confusion. And the field knows. It always knows. The tragedy is that we've been praised for burnout. We wear stress like a badge of honor, mistaking exhaustion for worth. But running yourself into the ground is not a sign of value. It's a symptom of disconnection. From self, from source, from truth. You are not here to survive your life. You are here to infuse it with meaning, to move in harmony with what lights your soul. So ask yourself, where in my life am I forcing what no longer fits? Where am I over-efforting out of fear I'll be left behind? Where am I mistaking productivity for purpose? These are not easy questions, but they are liberating ones. Because when you begin to prioritize energy over effort, your nervous system begins to soften. Your breath deepens, your intuition sharpens. You stop chasing and start choosing. And what you choose from alignment never needs to be justified. It just feels right. You know it in your body. You recognize it in your spirit. And yes, people might question your path. They might say you've changed. Let them. Your evolution is not a negotiation. You are not required to explain your alignment to those committed to their struggle. They may understand later, or they may not. Either way, your peace is your permission. Let this be your new rhythm. Less forcing, more flowing. Less proving, more being. Less planning, more presence. Not because you're lazy, but because you're finally tuned in. And in that tuning, the right actions reveal themselves. You don't have to invent the path, you just have to align with it. So the next time you feel the urge to push, pause instead. Ask, is this coming from fear or from truth? Because when you act from truth, the whole universe conspires not to test you, but to join you. Manifestation isn't a game of acquisition. It's an act of becoming. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is not just the words you speak or the dreams you post on vision boards. It's the embodied frequency you carry, the truth you live even when no one is watching. The universe doesn't respond to your desires, it responds to your embodiment. To embody something means to wear it in your nervous system, to breathe it into your choices, to become the version of you who already lives it as truth. This isn't pretending, it's remembering. You don't fake confidence. You remember that you were once unafraid. You don't fabricate abundance. You remember that your essence has always been whole. This shift from wanting to becoming is where the real alchemy happens. It's where the energy moves from someday to already, where your vision stops being a hope and starts being a mirror. When you embody the state of the reality you desire, you create the magnetic field that allows it to arrive. Think of it like tuning a radio. You don't shout at the station to play your favorite song. You simply align your dial to the frequency it's already being broadcast on. That song was never missing. It was just inaccessible while you were tuned elsewhere. The same is true for your desires. They are already in the field. The question is, are you resonant with them? This requires radical honesty. You cannot embody a new reality while holding tightly to the identity that contradicts it. If you say you want love but still carry the armor of mistrust, the signal gets scrambled. If you desire wealth but secretly feel unworthy of ease, your embodiment blocks your own flow. This is why affirmations often fall flat, because the words say one thing but the body says another. You speak abundance, but clench in fear every time you check your bank account. You declare confidence, but shrink in meetings. Embodiment is not performance, it's congruence. It's when your thoughts, feelings, and actions speak the same language. So how do you begin to embody the version of you who already has what you desire? You start small. You feel it before you see it. You practice being her, being him, even before you believe it's fully safe. You ask, what would my aligned self do in this moment? And then you dare to do it. Maybe that version of you sets boundaries with grace. Maybe they take bold action even in uncertainty. Maybe they rest without guilt, trust without evidence, speak with clarity, walk with presence. Every time you act from that place, even for a moment, you widen the path for more of that reality to anchor. Embodiment is not about perfection, it's about rehearsal. Your nervous system is learning a new dance, and at first it may feel awkward. You'll wobble, you'll doubt, but with each step the unfamiliar becomes familiar, and soon you're no longer trying to become, you're just being. This is how the quantum responds. Not to wishful thinking, but to coherent being. It doesn't need theatrics, it needs integrity. You don't have to scream your desires into the void, you just have to stop whispering your fears through your actions. Because every action is a vote for the reality you believe in. And over time, those votes accumulate into momentum, into identity, into reality. This is the quiet miracle of embodiment. It rewrites your life without needing the world's permission. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. Growth often feels like grief, grieving the version of you that can no longer come. But in that shedding is your becoming. In the discomfort is your expansion. And the universe, ever faithful, meets you in your coherence with reflections you once thought impossible. So ask yourself, who would I be if I truly believed it was already mine? How would I stand? How would I speak? What would I say no to? Not out of fear, but out of clarity. These are not just mindset shifts, they are energetic declarations. They tell the field, I remember who I am. And in that remembering, the field rearranges. Life starts to meet you not where you've been, but where you're going. Opportunities rise from the mist. Connections seem serendipitous. And you, rooted in the truth of your being, walk with a quiet power that no external validation can grant. You are not waiting for your reality to change. You are becoming the version of you who changes reality. Not through force, but through frequency. Not by doing more, but by being fully. That is the essence of embodied manifestation. To live your highest truth is not to escape the world, it's to meet it with presence, power, and profound coherence. It means choosing every moment as a sacred act, not because life is always gentle, but because you are. Alignment with Source is not a retreat from the noise. It's the ability to remain centered within it. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. When you live in alignment, your truth becomes non-negotiable, not rigid, but rooted. You stop outsourcing your clarity to the chaos around you. You stop asking for permission to be who you already are. The opinions, expectations, and projections of others no longer shake your foundation because you've anchored yourself in something deeper, something eternal. This doesn't mean you won't feel fear, it means you won't obey it. You'll see fear as a messenger, not a master. You'll hear doubt and still move forward. You'll fall and rise, not because you're trying to prove something, but because that's who you are, one who rises, one who remembers. Living your highest truth means honoring your inner guidance above external pressure. It means asking, what is true for me in this moment, and daring to follow the answer, even when it makes no sense to others. Especially then, because the path of alignment is not linear, it's quantum. It bends time, rewrites logic, and creates results that astonish. This level of living requires presence. It asks that you come home to your body, to this breath, to the now. Because now is the only place manifestation happens. Not in the past you regret, not in the future you chase, but in the present you embody. And in this sacred now, everything is possible. You don't need more credentials. You need more connection. Not to another strategy, but to your own soul. The wisdom you seek is not hiding, it's waiting for you to listen, to slow down, to stop editing yourself to fit a mold that was never designed for your magic. This is not about becoming enlightened in some far-off future. It's about living as light right here, right now. In your kitchen, in your relationships, in the way you talk to yourself. Alignment is not reserved for the spiritual elite, it's your birthright. And it begins the moment you decide that your truth is sacred enough to live. So where are you still negotiating with your fear? Where are you still shrinking to make others comfortable? Where are you still denying your knowing for the sake of approval? These are the cracks through which your highest truth leaks out. And once you see them, you can seal them, not with shame, but with sovereignty. Sovereignty means you belong to yourself again. It means you trust your timing, honor your feelings, and protect your peace. You no longer bend to fit a life that no longer fits you. You stand, not in rebellion, but in remembrance of who you are, of what you carry, of the truth that can never be taken. This doesn't mean you won't have moments of doubt. It means doubt no longer derails you. It becomes background noise to the symphony of your certainty. Because certainty isn't about knowing the outcome, it's about knowing yourself. And when you know yourself, deeply and honestly, you become unshakable. The world will test this, not to punish you, but to purify you. Every delay, detour, and disappointment is an invitation to realign, to deepen, to sharpen your signal. The field is always responding, but sometimes what feels like a no is simply the universe saying, not from this frequency. Shift your state, and the doors change shape. Living your highest truth means every step you take becomes sacred. Every yes carries power. Every no becomes a boundary of love. And even your pauses, especially your pauses, become portals. Because when you rest in alignment, you recalibrate your entire field. And eventually, the life you used to chase begins chasing you. Not because you begged for it, but because you became the version of yourself who naturally lives it. The love arrives, the abundance unfolds, the peace becomes normal. Not because you manipulated the world, but because you mastered your energy. This is the quantum journey. Not a race, a return, not a formula, a frequency, not a fix, a remembering. You don't need to chase truth. You are the truth. You don't need to find the light. You are the light. And when you finally begin to live like that is true, life becomes miraculous. Not because it changed, but because you did. You've just walked through a journey, not of new beliefs, but of ancient remembering. You are not a powerless observer in a chaotic world. You are a living expression of source energy, capable of shaping reality not through force, but through frequency. The quantum field is not a mystery to be solved, it is a mirror to be cleaned. And the clearer your internal state, the more accurately life reflects your highest truth. So pause, breathe, feel the gravity of your presence. Everything you seek is already seeking you, through alignment, through embodiment, through truth. The journey does not end here, it deepens. Every moment is another opportunity to choose coherence, to tune your energy, to live like your soul is watching, because it is. You're not here to survive your life. You're here to illuminate it. If something stirred in you while reading this, follow that feeling. Comment below, share your realizations, your questions, your turning points. Subscribe to continue this conversation, to stay in the current of your own evolution. This isn't the end, it's the ignition. Because when you live aligned with Source, your life becomes the most powerful truth you'll ever tell.